Much has been written about that sexy, macho image, the flip, flashy, tire-burning skirt chaser. The truth may surprise you. People close to him will tell you that actually he's more than a little shy. When he first came to Hollywood as a contract player for one of the big movie factories, he used to bring a sandwich for his lunch, not because he's tight, he's anything but that, but because he was too shy to go into the commissary and eat with the stars. Women love him. Men admire him, and the critics, well, even the meanest are starting to eat crow and spit out some of the sour grapes. I like him. I like him very much. I consider him a true friend, and I ask you to welcome him. Burt Reynolds.
It's kind of embarrassing, these two red shirts. Okay. Shall we start with some questions?
I have two questions, one from Mr. Welles. With all your planning and everything, I know everyone here in the audience wants to know how you both ended up with red shirts and the same colored jackets.
That's some artistic form of color coordination, but simple, lousy coincidence.
And the other question's for Mr. Reynolds. You made a picture called 100 Rifles, remember?
Yes, I do.
And the question is that if you were able to burn any of your early films, would that have been one of them?
Honey, I have such a forest fire going before I'd get to that one.
This question's for Mr. Reynolds. How much of yourself do you feel that you owe to your fans? And another part to that is, where do you draw the line between the public personality and the private man?
That's a good question.
You betted it.
What I owe them is what I give them. If you can take as much as you give, in other words, if I can use that kind of conversation that they want to talk about, or I'm talking about fans, when somebody wants to come up and talk to me, I can go walk away from that confrontation having taken as much as I've given, which is what I try to do now. I find energy from people. The second part of your question, what was the second part of your question?
Where do you draw the line between your public personality and yourself as a private man?
Well, my public personality, if I tried to live up to that privately, I would be so tired I couldn't come on the show. But I do try as best I can.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mr. Reynolds, as a struggling actor myself, I'd like to find out, at the very beginning, when you had your first screen test, how did that come off? Did it pass? Did it fail? And how did you feel about it?
It failed miserably. And so don't give up hope. It was a terrible, terrible test. At 20th Century Fox, it was a personality test.
What's a personality test?
Well,
Well, you don't learn lines and they ask you to...
you sit in a chair and they ask you lots of questions, and my personality test was such a disaster because they rehearsed my personality for 2 weeks. And for 2 weeks, I was asked the same 3 questions. You look like Marlon Brando. Do you have any Marlon Brando stories? I told 20 Marlon Brando stories. You've got big shoulders. Did you play football? I told 120 football stories. And then the last question, I think, was you were born and raised in the South or something, and I told a bunch of stories about that. So the day of the test, I walked in and sat down in the makeup room, and there was this gorgeous guy sitting next to me, and I said, being naive and not knowing anything about Hollywood or cameras or makeup, I said, make me up just like him. You know, I thought that they would put on the gorgeous #2 pancake, and I would be gorgeous. And I didn't look any different after they got it. I just looked darker. And he went on, and they said, what's your name? And he said, Frank Gifford, New York Giants, and he did 125 funny football stories. And so just before I was to do my personality test, Irving Pincus, who was then the head of Fox in New York, said, don't do any football stories. I said, right. He said, cut the Marlon Brando thing. That's no good. And then I was about to walk out, and a guy named Freddie Brown said, don't do anything about the South. It's, you know, we don't want to know about your South. So I sat down, and this is my personality. This is what they saw. I can't understand why they didn't sign me to a 7-year contract. Guy said to me, you look a lot like Marlon Brando. He said, anybody ever tell you you look like Marlon Brando? And I went, no? So you got big shoulders. Did you ever play football? I said, no. I said, you're from the South, aren't you? I said, that was my personality. The interesting thing is that today, to be a young actor, there's no place to go and be bad. By that I mean, when I was a struggling actor, there was enormous hours of syndicated television. Where you could go and just be horrible and have fun and grow as an actor. But for you, you've got to have a lead almost the first time out of the box, and if the numbers aren't good for you, you're off the air. It's a really, I don't envy you. It's the toughest job in the world today to be a young actor. Much harder than when I started. But good luck, anyway.
I have a question for Mr. Reynolds. What is the difference between a star and a superstar, and which one are you?
Only a black man would ask that question. That's so unfair. The difference between a superstar, I suppose, I mean, super is such a ridiculous label, but it's something that we're using these days as opposed to something that they used a long time ago, which I don't know what it was. What was it a long time ago?
I'll tell you what happened. No, I won't answer the question, but I'll give you the answer to what you're asking. You see, when the stars were all tied up by studios, only a few people got their name over the title, and great, big, important actors were featured players and happy to be that and were forever. Mm-hmm. Now that actors are hired independently, their agents ask for some kind of star billing, which makes a featured player a sort of star.
Yes.
Therefore, you have to invent the word superstar, meaning simply star.
The Super Bowl, the super whatever, and
yeah,
the
that's
superstar.
Right.
The difference, I think, probably is the one who, in spite of the movie, in spite of what people say about it, it's going to make money. That is a superstar. To answer your question as to whether I am a superstar or not...
The answer is yes.
No, it depends. It depends on...
I want you to tell me why there are more female stars. There are plenty of male stars. There's you, there's Robert Redford, there's Robert De Niro. I can maybe count 1 or 2 female stars. Why is that?
Quite simply because they're not making women pictures today.
Well, you know why they're not making, why they haven't been all these years.
Well, I think probably because they didn't make money, I assume. That's
no, but yeah, but there's a reason that goes behind that, which is that in the days when you went to movies, the way you turned on the television, that is, you went out 2 or 3 nights a week to the local movie house, right?
Yes.
The decision of what movie you would go to was up to Mama, Mrs. Jones. Mr. Jones came home from work, tired, she said, let's go and see Joan Crawford or whatever.
Yeah.
She chose pictures about women because women are interested in pictures about women, obviously. The choice of who went was not up to a 20-year-old kid. It was up to a lady with 1 or 2 children and a tired working fellow who came home and didn't care what he went to see.
Also, part of it is because they're not writing enough pictures for women, but that's changing. That's changing every day.
Yes, and a good thing, too.
Since your image in America and in the world is of this womanizer, this person who lives that type of life, how much are you in control of that? And do you foster that image through PR firms?
Well, I'm a bachelor, and I think it's something that people tend to forget. And in the past 7 years of my life, I've been with 5 women. And I prefer the company of one woman as opposed to men and running around with 4 or 5 different ladies at one time. But I've also made fun and sent up this character that everyone has, newspapers and magazines have created. And by sending it up, I've made fun of my so-called image. And in doing so, instead of exploding it, I've expanded it somehow. By going on The Tonight Show and doing self-deprecating jokes about my sexual prowess, it seems that it's only, if you pardon the word, elongated it.
We better pause right there, I think. We'll be back.